Well everyone, it's time. Hi everyone and welcome back to the Southerners Northern Garden. So my mulch arrived today and I want to take you back there real quickly before we get started putting this mulch down to show you what it looks like and what I've got going on. I typically spread mulch using our mower and my gorilla cart, which is right there. The mower has a hitch on it, and so just load that up and bring it back here and dump the gorilla cart, which is a great tool in the garden if you don't have one. So I mentioned putting down Contractor's paper, which you can get in the paint section. I'm not going to do that initially because I want to be able to pull the mower over this hump and dump the mulch directly on it. So when we get the mulch filled up to the edges here, then I will stop the process, or I'll pile it up kind of here along the sides, and then I'll put down the paper and then pull the mulch over it. I just don't want the paper to get ripped in the process of dumping this mulch. So this is kind of how it looks like. You'll notice I did put down a drip line that I connected to the existing drip. This is simply black poly distribution tubing. I'm expecting this entire area to be mostly filled with different types of shrubs. There will probably be very little perennials in this area except along the path that leads to the mini orchard. So I put in the black poly tubing because I don't want to waste a bunch of water. I can simply run a line and pop an emitter into any shrub that I put in this area. And so I put it a little far back because I'm expecting to have a little hedge of evergreens here in the front, and that should be enough far back that I can pull it forward a little bit or run a single emitter to each one of those shrubs. There will likely be like a grass or an edging of grass around the front. For that, I may stick an extra drip tube, just connect it here around the front and run it along the very front all the way down. The nice thing about this method is it's kind of easy to pull the mulch back even a month or so later. So I'm not terribly concerned about having the distribution tubing hidden where I can't locate it or anything. There is one line back here in the back next to the fence because there will be some plants planted along the fence. It's right under the edge right here. So I did mention that the fence will likely run in the middle of these two lines here. So I have about 1.5 feet from the fence, and that'll be kind of perfect to run in front of any shrubs I desire to plant along the fence here. You'll recall in one of my last videos when I did my perennial cleanup that I am just like falling out of love with some perennials. I've got to find perennials that provide season-long interest because I hate cutting back perennials and then you're just left with a dead spot in your garden. So I'm going to focus on a lot of shrubs that I think provide good interest all season, even if they don't bloom all season. So a lot of the ones I purchased have had really interesting foliage, and so I'm expecting this area to kind of be a really nice foliage accent plant. I did get some kind of bad news on the fence. The fence is not going to be installed until late October to November, which is later than I expected it to be. I expected it early to mid-October, so that may have to change some of the plans I had waiting to get some of those shrubs into the ground after the fence was installed. So I may have to go ahead and prepare the bed along the side of the property before the fence isn't even installed, which might be a little difficult. I don't know. Well, I'll have to think about that. I really don't want to have to heel in these shrubs into my raised beds again another year. My goal is to not have anything to heel in over winter this year. That probably won't happen because I'm sure I'll find something on sale that I have nowhere to put, but that's my goal. If the fence isn't installed until late October, that also causes issues with my irrigation. So I expected to have my irrigation line corrected on this side of the property where the fence will come in late October, right before they shut the system down. But I may not be able to do that depending on the timing there, because typically I have my sprinkler system blowed out by my irrigation guys around 3rd week of October to 1st week of November, just depending on how the weather's going. So I may have to wait till next year to get the irrigation moved, which is kind of a pain and I'm not really happy about, but we'll see how that works. It's all just timing right now. The really interesting thing is I talked to the fence people yesterday, or I sent them an email, and she told me that it would be late October or November, but when I woke up this morning to get started on this mulch, there was an Ohio 811 truck sitting outside, and I went outside to get the mail because I didn't get it yesterday. And she was like, "Are you getting a fence installed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I just talked to them yesterday and it was going to be 2 to 2.5 months." And She said she's not going to mark the lines because obviously that will have washed away or the grass would have grown out and I would have cut it anyway. So it's just very odd. So I don't know if I got some miscommunication from the fence company and they're actually coming earlier since they called this 811 line and scheduled the lines to be marked, or there's just miscommunication elsewhere. So I'll keep you updated on that. If it is getting installed sooner and the woman at the fence company was just mistaken yesterday, that's excellent. Like, this early was not expected, so I'd be really happy about that. But I'm gonna get started on this mulch because I wanna get it done. It's currently 69 degrees, it's perfect. It's a little overcast today, and if I can get as much done as I can probably finish this in the next 2 hours. We have 6 yards to move, and if I get on it, I think I can finish it before then, and then chill the rest of the day or do anything else, since this is the big project I've been waiting for. So let's get started. All right, everyone, a quick interruption on the process. I didn't put down the contracting painter's paper first because I wanted to be able to get the cart into the bed to spread mulch, but now you can see I've just kind of laid it down over the extra grass right here, and I'm dumping mulch directly on top. I'm not putting landscape staples in it because it is kind of fragile and I don't want it to rip or anything. So I'm carefully dumping mulch on it, and once the mulch is over it, it'll look like this area right here. This has got the paper on it just like the rest of it, and then it will prevent the grass from growing through it. I am doubling it up in some areas, but it'll prevent the grass from growing through it and it'll die off, and then we'll just have a perfectly mulched bed. So when I return, this area will be completed. Hi everyone, so it's later in the afternoon. It took a little longer to do the mulch than I expected, so we finished right around lunchtime. We had a little extra mulch than I calculated, which was good because I was able to create an extra bed I was not expecting to create right now. So I want to show you what it looks like completely finished. I'm really excited about what it looks like, but let me give you a little bit of details of how this is going to go moving forward. So this area right here, you'll notice in the front I have mulch piled up a little bit. So because I wasn't expecting or didn't have a time to edge this bed like I did the one down there, I piled some extra mulch up. So sometime in the next week or so, I'll come through and create that natural edge, lay down some more of that contracting paper, and pull this mulch forward. I just wanted to save some mulch to the side, that way I would have it to complete this look right here. So I'm really excited about how this bed turned out. I did not run any drip, I actually forgot, so I'm going to have to come back probably tomorrow sometime, and I'm going to run drip from the back over to the oak leaf hydrangea and then up to this tree, as it will carry along the fence line here for this bed I'm making. As we proceed around this way, you can see I took down the bird feeder, and I'll put it back up somewhere else later in the year when it's time to feed the birds again. But this is what this bed looks like, completely done. I did add a extra connector for the drip. I ran it from this line to the one back there you saw earlier, and you can see it right next to this tree. And I did this so that I could put a drip emitter on this tree. It's been suffering a bit since I got it. It's a red bud, but when I got it, it didn't have a huge root system. I did receive it in a container, but it almost seemed like it had been pulled out of a field and thrown in a container for shipping, so it didn't have a very established root system, and as a result it's kind of struggled all summer. But it's still alive and it's doing well, and I think it'll just be fine next year. I just want to make sure I get drip on it so it can get consistent water. So I'm really excited about how this bed turned out. The edge looks really nice. I do apply a very, very thick layer of mulch generally whenever I'm mulching anyway. So this mulch is really good. It's triple shred mulch. You can see how broken down it is already, but it just gets better over time, and it's almost like a compost almost. It's so broken down that it really just feeds the soil. So as the cardboard breaks down and draws in earthworms, they will take in this mulch and till it in with my clay soil a little bit naturally and provide a lot of nice, good food for the plants. So after the fence is installed, I will come through and mulch over this landscape fabric as I mentioned, but for now, we're gonna keep it uncovered so that they will have an easier time installing the fence and hopefully won't make as much of a mess over the flower bed mulch. Now, one thing I was not expecting to get done today was this bed. This is a continuation of the bed that I mentioned. So we've got the maple here, and I kind of extended it. I was not able to edge this bed like the other one over there, so in the next couple weeks I'll come through and create that natural edge. But this is the idea I was looking for. So the edge has to be finessed a little bit like I mentioned, but you'll see under here I just laid down that contracting paper slightly under here. See, it's there. I've already watered in this mulch earlier today. I turned the sprinklers on because it's just been so hot and dry, and the lawn was looking a bit rough, so I wanted to make sure I got some water on top of it to kind of settle everything down. And then I continued along this way and started adding mulch here since we had a little bit extra. This bed, this edge again, will get finessed, and I'm trying to decide, so the bed will kind of make a U here, and I'm trying to decide whether I should just make this all mulched area and add stepping stones to the building, or if I should just leave a little U of grass here. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to think about it. It might be best to make this whole area mulch, otherwise it's going to be kind of odd cutting a little U there, but I will probably wait until the fence is fully installed until I make that decision. Because it's very hard, I have a hard time visualizing what things will look like until those barriers are added. So when the fence is added and I bring the bed here out a little bit, it might just make sense to wrap it around to that bed and have stepping stones leading to the building. As far as this area right here, I'm going to leave these boxwoods because I think I mentioned I would probably be cutting them into perfect little spheres when they got a little older, but I'm not sure if I have them close enough to make a hedge. Probably not, but in the event they do start touching, I might just decide to make that a nice formal hedge here. I had originally thought I would carry boxwoods around the edge here, but now I'm thinking that may not be necessary. I might put some other evergreens here, like some boxwood topiaries or something for evergreen interest. But I gotta think of some items here because this area will change significantly over time. My zinnias around this bed started blooming, so I wanted to show you some of them now because they're really gorgeous. This is Benary's Giant. Everything in this bed is Benary's Giant except the green one over there, which is a Queen Lime. This one's a kind of funny looking, but this is a nice coral color that I really like. So overall, I'm really excited about the progress today. We got way more done than I expected because I was not intending to even do these beds at all. So that's definitely a bonus. I'm gonna take you back here and show you some of my daylilies right quick because there's some really cool daylilies. I'm gonna have a hard time getting back here until I figure out and get my stone path in to go to the mini orchard. So normally daylilies are not blooming this time of year. They're bloomed out. Actually, these got sprayed with water, so they're not as gorgeous as they were earlier this morning when they opened. But the fact that they're blooming now, this time of year, gives me an indication that I need to put them somewhere else in the garden when I move them, that they'll get a lot more visual focus point because it's a gorgeous flower. This one is as well. And it's been blooming pretty much non-stop since the daylilies started blooming. So it must be a reblooming variety I didn't realize I had. You can see all the weeds in here again. And this is one of the reasons I'm putting down this landscaping fabric, as I mentioned. We had some volunteer sunflowers come up and I left them just because they're on the back here and they don't look too funny, but I like to walk around and look at them. Must have been planted by squirrels, and so they're kind of open pollinated. This is a multi-head variety and this bee is just loving it right here. But once again, these will probably come out shortly after they bloom to make way for the fence. So overall, I'm really excited. I will zoom back here and let you see just kind of an overview of what this space looks like. Fully mulched. My goal in this backyard is to create a really enclosed, private feeling space. So after the fence is installed, or earlier, as I mentioned earlier, we may have to go ahead and create this bed here along where the fence is going to go before the fence is installed, depending on timing. I'm thinking about adding, there's going to be 2 Limelight Prime hydrangeas. They're actually on the patio in a couple containers. I got them last year and I grew them on and just planted them up in these containers. They need a little pruning because the stems are really weak because they're a new variety, and I just got them last year as a tiny shrub, and I'm growing them on. So there'll be a gate here to our neighbors that we really love, and then we'll have 2 Limelight Prime hydrangeas on each side of the gate. I'm thinking about, just to give a little privacy, putting some Friends Fontaine hornbeams. Those hornbeams are really nice because they don't get very wide and they grow kind of straight up. So I'm thinking maybe 3 of them planted somewhat close together to create kind of an instant type privacy hedge. And I don't know, I'm just gonna deck that area out with shrubs and other items. That's just kind of the look I'm going for. So I want kind of an enclosed space. You know, the gardens that are really old and just feel like you're walking into a separate part of the yard. We'll have the same thing up here when the fence is installed. I'm having a arbor actually installed with it. I ordered with the fence, so it'll be made out of the same aluminum material that I can plant roses on, and just have this beautiful entrance of a rose arbor walking into the backyard, which will be nicely planted up. So my next task, now that this part of the project is complete, those beds will stay there for probably a month or so at least before I start putting anything in them. Sorry, I got really distracted because I've neglected the vegetable garden so much, and that's one thing I was going to tell you. That's the next project, is to clean up the vegetable garden. I have a whole tomato growing right here and didn't even realize it. So that needs to come out. And now the priority is the vegetable garden. I can get the blueberries transplanted and put over here now that I got the drip working. And we've got some severe tomato disease going on because it's been so hot. So I got to come in here and completely remove one of these tomato plants. I think it's the Roma. Looks like it's just not doing very good. So I'm going to come in here and I might make some sauce from these tomatoes and have some nice tomato sauce. But otherwise, I just need to come in and clean up this area. There's lots of weeds in the bed. I haven't paid too much attention to my vegetable garden this year, and it is completely overrun. But that's just the way these things go. So now that I'm finished with this project, I can start tackling a lot more things that I've been waiting on to get finished in the garden. The hydrangeas, the Limelight hydrangeas are looking awesome. I need to do my hydrangea tour, and I will probably do that this week now that I finished that. I thought I would do it this past week, and I just never got around to it, working on all the garden bed stuff. But that'll be coming soon, especially because the Limelights are looking absolutely gorgeous. And I hope you guys stick around, like, subscribe, and follow along. Stay tuned, and remember, in a world full of hate, be a light. Bye.